on behalf of the people of the state of Illinois. Senate Bill 2226 is Protecting Illinois Communities Act. This act, this work, is the culmination of months of work by our Firearms Safety and Reform Working Group. This group has been led valiantly by Representative Bob Morgan, and it continues the important work that Representative Moore Hirschauer has spent her life doing. It continues the work that I've watched my seatmate do for 10 years, fighting to protect the West Side. Representative LaShawn Ford. It continues the work of common sense gun champions like Representative Denise Wang Stoneback. And my friend and classmate, Representative Kathy Willis, and so many other common sense gun champions who have been fighting for issues that are contained in this bill for so long. Now, we know that this topic is contentious. We also may not all agree on the solutions being presented. But what we do know is that gun violence is impacting communities in every single corner of this state. The House Democrats Working Group has spent countless hours over the past 4 months meeting with survivors, family members of victims, advocates, law enforcement, and many others to discuss meaningful reforms. Their work and the voices of those stakeholders are represented throughout this bill that I will be presenting here today. This legislation will, most importantly, ban the new sale of assault weapons in the state of Illinois. This is what the people of this state have been calling for, and that's what it will deliver. These are weapons that belong on a battlefield, not at parades celebrating our country's independence, or at parks, or at schools, or at our churches. If this bill were to become law, I want to be clear about something, because we're going to probably hear a lot about that in debate later. If this bill were to become law, there will be no removal of these weapons from people who already own them. It's important to highlight that. We are not taking any guns away from lawful gun owners. Laugh if you want. But today, tonight, we're going to protect Illinois communities. And that's not a joke. What we're doing here is putting accountabilities in place. We will require that serial numbers on these grandfathered weapons be associated with the owner's FOID account. Some people may think that's funny, but people are dying in every corner of this state. And it's time that we do something about it. The time to act is now. And this legislation will also ban the sale of large capacity magazines holding more than 12 rounds. It just makes sense, common sense. It will ban the sale and possession of rapid fire devices, more commonly known as switches. These are dangerous devices that turn semi-automatic weapons into fully automatic guns. It is imperative that we stop the tidal wave of guns flooding into Illinois from states surrounding us that refuse to regulate firearms. That's why our legislation does something else that's very important. It creates an anti-trafficking unit, charging the Illinois State Police with coordinating efforts to stop the flow of illegal guns. We also need to ensure guns never fall into the wrong hands like we've seen so many times before. And that's why we also, in this bill, strengthen the Illinois firearm restraining order, allowing judges to remove guns for up to 1 year. There are no simple solutions to an issue like this. I suspect if there were, we would have done it already. An issue that has been neglected at the national level for far too long will be addressed here tonight. Tonight, we are calling on this body to protect Illinois communities. This is an important step in getting these dangerous weapons meant for battlefields out of our neighborhoods. And we should take this night very seriously here. This is our opportunity to help every single community in this state. No matter where you are, no matter what color you are, black, white, brown, this bill helps every single community. I said this earlier in committee that the House Democratic Caucus often hears me ask them the question, why? Why are we here? Why do we spend nights and weeks away from our families? Why do we come here and argue with each other? Why? I'll tell you my why. Two of them have been with me here in Springfield this week. My son Tyler, who's 10, who I want to grow up and have a family of his own. My daughter Marley, who's 8, who I want to see her grow up and have a family of her own. I've seen Leader Gordon Booth's daughter Gianna here, able to play with my kids and laugh and hug each other. I want to see her grow up and have a family of her own. I've seen our budget director, Mark Jarmer, and his wife, Christine Jarmer's kids here. We want to see kids grow up and laugh and love and play without the fear of getting gunned down in schools and on playgrounds. That's our why. But I'll tell you, so many of us have also experienced violence that have changed our families. In 1985, that happened to my family. My parents had 3 boys. My mom never birthed a girl. But that's because God had another plan for her. She didn't know what that plan was. And one day, my mom's sister, who had 3 girls, had just gotten in her car, leaving our church on the west side of Chicago. And she was gunned down, sitting in her car in front of our church. My aunt was divorced and a single mother of 3 girls who now had no mother. My parents didn't think twice. And my 3 cousins are my 3 sisters today. My parents didn't make any more money. But by the grace of God and a belief in faith, our family made it, despite the senseless gun violence that happened in 1985. And it's 2023, and that senseless gun violence continues. we have a chance today to protect Illinois communities. And I am so thankful for the work of Bob Morgan and the Firearms Safety Working Group. Mr. Speaker, Representative Morgan and several members of the working group will be prepared to take questions and probably make statements, and I'll certainly be prepared to answer questions as well. But I'm asking for approval of Senate Bill 226 here tonight so that we all protect Illinois communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.